What I'm going to talk about today is the idea of a personal board of directors. Story time about how this came through. I was on my third company and I was really understanding how much easier it is to grow a company when you have a good board of directors. These are advisors, shareholders, sometimes they're investors. They're people who give you guidance on how to grow the company. They're invested in your success and they care about you. They are sounding boards for feedback. They have connections that they can open up to you, right? And occasionally they're sources of capital. And I realized that it's a lot easier to grow a company when you have a good board helping you along. Now I thought to myself, why don't I have that as an individual? Why should CEOs get this, whereas a normal person doesn't, right? As a CEO, I was loving it, and I realized I would love to have the same sort of arrangement in my own personal life. So I suggested this to my friends. We had been getting together once a year, meeting in some random city, and these were my college friends, so we were kind of strewn about the country, and we did what all college friends do when they get back together once a year, which is regress. We just drank too much, right? And so I said, guys, I want to try an experiment. I've been getting this benefit of having a board of directors in my company. I want you all to be my board of directors and see how this goes. And they were like, okay, Cam, whatever. They're used to my weird ideas at this point. But they went for it. And it was amazing. It was a really, really powerful experience that completely changed the dynamic of our friendship. It strengthened our bonds, and what it did was it gave us a vehicle to get help from each other a lot more than we typically do. Men are not real big on sharing vulnerabilities, and for a lot of times, you just asking for help feels like you're being needy. And this gave us a really easy way to do this. That very first one, I called it the Bourbon Boardroom. And my reason for that was that by draping it in the language of alcohol and business, men would talk about their feelings and be a little more open to asking for help. And I think that worked. I think that was helpful in setting the right tone. But that very first moment was really, really powerful. We had one friend who was having some struggles in their relationship. Another friend was having a bad boss that was creating some issues in their career. And then there was another friend who was just having some identity issues. He just felt like he worked all the time and felt like he didn't have a richness to his inner life that he felt like he used to, and he felt like he was missing it. So, as you can see, we got a really wide range of topics got brought up in this, but all of them worked. All of them were useful, and there was a number of benefits just from the person saying it out loud all the way to having other brains thinking about your problems. And we've now done this 8 years in a row, and I've actually evangelized this to a bunch of other different folks who have had great experiences with it. At this point, this has happened with people who I don't even know, who are friends of friends of friends who hear about this and give it a shot. I've got a blog post where I write up the specifics of it that I'll link in the comments in the description. But it's been really, really powerful. And so I wanted to offer this to you in case you wanted to try it. Let me now, at this point, unpack what are kind of best practices and what have we learned doing this so many times that can make it work really, really well. The first thing is it works best when you start with good friends, but you don't have to. I've done this a number of times with strangers, and it's been great as well. Sometimes there'll be a common thread that runs through them. If it's at a bachelor party or a bridal shower, there'll be folks who, again, there's a common thread, a common connection, but it can still be great there as well. Typically, the overarching process takes around 3 to 4 hours, depending on how many people you have. I generally recommend 4 to 6 is a good number, but you can do it with less and you can do it with more. The biggest group I ever heard doing this was actually 25 people. It was 2 separate groups of friends that just happened to be connected in the same way, and they gave it a shot. The thing I remember most about this was there was like a 240-pound, like muscle-bound meathead kind of dude who just kept saying, like, wow, I didn't know how hard it was going to be to say this stuff out loud. And he looks like the kind of guy who can just walk through walls. So there's been a few different experiments we've run about how to time it. But what we've found is typically what works best is each person gets around 30 minutes. And let me break that down real quick. That's 5 to 10 minutes of unpacking your situation, updates on who you are and what you're trying to do. And then the rest of that time is feedback and group discussion. Now, the person who's in the hot seat, the person who is the CEO of themselves, then getting feedback from others, they can steer and direct it. But 30 minutes is a good amount of time. And that 30 minutes will suit different needs for different people. For some people, they just want to hear tons of advice. For other people, what's happening here is just a framework for them to articulate something that they haven't really been able to put into words yet. Another best practice is to do it early. When you're having your friends gather in one place for one weekend, if you make it a long weekend, you get there on Thursday night, do this on Friday in the morning or late morning. The reason doing it earlier is better is that it gives you more time for hallway conversations, more time for follow-up discussion, which will happen organically. And that's when a lot of the best insights happens, in the same way that at a conference, a lot of the best things that happen are good conversations off to the side in a back channel versus the content of one particular speaker, right? But this leads to great outcomes, and it's just a really special thing. Now, with one set of friends, I've now done this with several sets, but with my one set of friends, we now make this almost a week-long affair. There is all kinds of crazy stuff. We have like a hot sauce thing going on. We have a clothing swap. It's just like flowered into this really, really wonderful thing that, again, helps you strengthen friendships, but also helps you advance your career or get a little more on to things that you're working on. So this is the personal board of directors, and I hope it is useful for you on your own journey of growth or business or whatever it is you're up to. So I hope it's helpful. Peace.